Why can Javier Milei disenchant Argentina's economy? The story of Argentina's economic decline is a dramatic tale of transformation from one of the richest countries in the world to a country facing regular crises, bankruptcies, hyperinflation, and growing poverty among its population. At the turn of the 20th century, Argentina was considered one of the richest countries in the world, largely due to British investment and its neutrality during the war. However, in the 1920s and 1930s, the country experienced its first wave of economic crisis. The first steps towards economic collapse were taken when Juan Perón's attempt to create the first social state led to a huge debt burden on the economy. After a period of wartime prosperity, Argentina lost its markets, and the growing number of unemployed workers and trade union conflicts created serious social problems. Since then, the country has been caught in a seesaw of contradictory development strategies and has become an example of inefficient debt servicing, inflation, and impoverishment. After a period of wartime prosperity, Argentina began to experience debt servicing problems, and successive governments introduced different, often conflicting, development strategies. The country became a symbol of cyclical economic problems. The situation has not improved significantly in recent decades. Argentina has declared bankruptcy 9 times, and the number of interventions by the International Monetary Fund testifies to chronic financial problems. The high inflation, the poverty of the population, and the difficulties in repaying debt that the country continues to face are largely due to the inept economic policies of successive governments. Javier Milei, Argentina's new president, is a figure with radical and libertarian views that have provoked mixed reactions in society. His ambitious plan to transform Argentina into a pro-market state with limited government, based on the dollarization of the economy, is controversial for some, but a hopeful breakthrough for others. Milei's flagship demand is the abolition of the Central Bank of Argentina, which he sees as the main source of the country's economic problems. His plans to dollarize the economy are based on the example of other countries such as El Salvador, Ecuador, and Panama, which have already adopted the US dollar as a means of payment. He argues that the use of the US currency for large transactions and even property purchases is already widespread in Argentina. On the economic front, Milei proposes radical reforms, including the privatization of state-owned enterprises, a reduction in the number of ministries, and changes to the structure of public spending. His aim is to create a minimal state in line with libertarian principles, which implies a belief in the need to reduce the role of the state to minimal functions, such as the provision of security and justice. In terms of migration policy, Milei proposes tougher laws, including denying entry or expelling foreigners with criminal records. His stance on migration is consistent with a radical approach to state sovereignty. Milei is also consistent on worldview issues. He describes himself as a liberal, libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, and minarchist, which is indicative of his philosophical beliefs. He is opposed to abortion and advocates a reduced role for the state in social life. During his campaign, and after taking office, Milei also declared Argentina's geopolitical reorientation towards the United States, while turning away from the BRICS bloc and reducing dependence on China. His stance on international politics and his clear support for the US and Israel are an important part of his presidential agenda. This represents a significant shift on the global chessboard in favor of the US, especially in the context of its rivalry with China. After the Philippines and Vietnam, it is the next country to strengthen its ties with the US economy at China's expense. Does Argentina have the chance to write a new, positive chapter in its history? Javier Milei, Argentina's new president, is responding to public expectations by advocating radical reforms based on the values of economic freedom, capitalism, and libertarianism. His proposals, such as the dollarization of the economy, the abolition of the Central Bank of Argentina, and the reduction of the state administration, are a signpost for a country on the road to renewal, struggling with economic and social crises. The history of other countries provides inspiring examples of how a libertarian approach to the economy can contribute to significant economic growth. The correlation between increased economic freedom and the achievement of higher levels of economic growth is clear. Examples such as Singapore, which has become a global financial and technological center thanks to minimal state interference, or the United States, which benefits from elements of capitalism, confirm this thesis. In terms of freedom in particular, Argentina's economy has a lot of catching up to do, as it has long lagged behind the rest of the world. Switzerland, Hong Kong, or New Zealand are other countries that have succeeded in achieving economic freedom, which has led to a developed scientific and social sphere. The correlation between economic freedom and development indices also suggests that the pursuit of greater economic freedom is reflected in societal well-being. This confirms that greater economic freedom promotes the creation of a middle class and the empowerment of the poor. Argentina's history has been marked by a period of economic repression, which has left its mark on its current state. Countries as poorly governed as Argentina are in Group 5 of the Economic Freedom Index, which includes restrictions, heavy government intervention, and a lack of entrepreneurial freedom. Other countries in this group include India, Brazil, Ethiopia, Egypt, Algeria, Iran, Sudan, Venezuela, and Pakistan, largely poor and backward countries. Although India is beginning to move in a positive direction in this respect and is introducing a number of reforms to improve its current situation, Argentina, which is part of this group, has experienced negative economic effects, resulting in economic difficulties, inflation, and a loss of investor confidence. Restrictions on doing business, a heavy bureaucracy, and state intervention in market decisions have contributed to economic destabilization. An advocate of economic freedom, Javier Milei presents an alternative vision for Argentina. His proposals aim to reverse practices that constrain the economy and create the conditions for entrepreneurship to flourish. In Milei's view, the pursuit of economic freedom could mean a move away from socialist practices, providing an opportunity to rebuild the economy and restore investor confidence. The examples of other countries also in the low economic freedom group illustrate the negative consequences of excessive state interference in the economy. Restrictions on economic freedom lead to slower economic growth, lack of innovation, and difficulties in attracting foreign investment. In contrast, libertarian states such as Singapore and the United States, which thrive on high levels of economic freedom, contrast with those at the bottom of the economic freedom rankings. The drive to strengthen entrepreneurship and private initiative could be a key element in Argentina's transformation and exit from its previous continuous state of economic decline. Opening up to market-based solutions is a key step in improving Argentina's economic and social situation. The examples of Singapore, the United States, or Switzerland show that capitalist and libertarian values have the potential to bring real benefits to both the economy and society. Milei's ideas can therefore provide a solid basis for rebuilding and strengthening the Argentine economy. There is a clear correlation between increasing economic freedom and achieving higher levels of economic growth. It is also worth noting that the correlation coefficient between GDP per capita and the degree of economic freedom is 0.70, indicating a strong relationship between the two variables. One example of a country that has successfully applied the principles of economic freedom is Singapore. Singapore, a small city-state, has become a global economic giant through consistent free market policies. Minimal government interference, low taxes, and an open market have contributed to dynamic economic growth, and it is now one of the richest countries in the world. The United States is another example where economic freedom has played a key role. Labor market flexibility, an entrepreneurial culture, and minimal business restrictions have made the U.S. the world's largest economy. Switzerland, although slightly smaller in terms of population, has also achieved impressive results for the same reasons. Its tax system, low bureaucracy, and open market have helped make Switzerland one of the richest countries in the world. Although Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China, it has enjoyed a long period of economic autonomy. Its rapid growth was also the result of minimal government interference, low taxes, and openness to global trade. New Zealand's free market reforms in the 1980s transformed its economy to be more open and competitive. The result has been a significant increase in prosperity and improved living conditions for the population. These examples confirm that the values of economic freedom, capitalism, and libertarianism have transformative potential. The drive for less government interference, low taxes, labor market flexibility, and an open market encourages innovation, entrepreneurship, and dynamic economic development. Thank you for watching the video. Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. See you next video.